So this is kind of exciting because I found this bin from like a while ago, say roughly 7 to 8 years. And I'm going to be opening that thing up because I know there's expressive and emotive works on paper in there. My natural propensity is to dive into the intuition, the emotionality, the expressive, raw feeling states. You know, feel the energy and release that into the mark in the moment. And but when I first came to art making, I was in a class and I was learning all the technical things. And but at the same time in my personal life, I was awakening to more of myself. I was having like what I would call spiritual emergence, awakening, lack of better words. I was really grieving the loss of my identity and moving through this huge upheaval. And that's how the artist returned, was through this awakening. And it was really hard, and I won't go into it now, but I will start to unpack it as I move forward, and I'm ready to tell the stories and speak my being into existence, not just in art making and drawing, but like in the words, in the full presencing of me. What I've lived through is now becoming a redirection and the medicine that I carry. I say that humbly because it's been a long ass journey and a hard trip to get here. so yeah. Anyway, so what's exciting about this is I haven't really looked in here in years. It's just been sitting in the closet since I've been back here. And I was thinking this week, because lots of memories have been surfacing as I move through this other awakening point, and if you're feeling that energy rise, you're not alone. There's a lot going on, and I'll be speaking more onto those points too, because here on this channel, it's not just about art making, it's about energy, emotionality, and me bringing in the energetic and shamanic presencing that I am a student of still to this day, and bringing that soulful nature and prose, that poetic soul, like back into existence. That's important to me, to speak into all I've seen and known and what flows through me, and that's what I always encourage you guys to do, you out there, is to speak into that, you know, deeper place within us, right? To align with that authentic nature and expressive nature of being, and get back into that clear seeing state. So what I'm gonna do is look through this bin and pull out those expressive emotive drawings, and then I'm gonna use that past experience as my own inspiration to make maybe some new stuff. It's been years in the making, so it will be interesting to see like what's been hiding in there, and also like where have I been from the past to now. I know that I've gained a lot more everything over the years, so let's get started. So I haven't looked at these in years. It's been a while. They've just been in a bin. I took them out. Just gonna go through them, and I'll do a little commentary because I'm seeing them for the first time again. I noticed something though funny. I wrote the good ones, and like there's a folder. So apparently I curated my own self. So why don't we go through the bad ones first? Because alright, so I was like really grieving a lot and awakening to more of my internal self, and I had a big upheaval from 2015 to 2018. You could even say the last decade has been pretty much the roller coaster ride. Things keep changing rapidly in strange ways, and I'm going through another one of those phases, but this time I feel grounded in the experience, and I feel like I'm all here, which is exciting for my artwork and for showing up more to everything I'm called to do now. So yes, I was just expressing like more in an emotive way, and yeah. You could argue which way does this go, but I think I just know, you know. Oh, nice. I still like really struggled with space a lot more back then. And I still can struggle with the composition and design just because I'm more of an intuitive painter first. A lot of these moments were just, you know, very emotive and energetic and expressive. And you could say they use the word intuitive because nobody was teaching me this, right? I was just siphoning through the emotional states that I was in all kinds of weather, right? You can see we are going through, I guess, the bad ones is what I determined. So they don't hold up. Some of them don't, like, they're a little jumbly or a little sparse, or then they're sometimes lacking. But this is a good point, is like, I look at all of these. This is before I even knew what a 100-day project was. So I've always had a 100-day project in me. You know, I just, when I was awakening to myself, it wasn't just the artworks, right? The artworks was kind of aiding me in the process of the discovery of that awakening. And I was able to ground my emotional states and my energetic awarenesses into what was going on. I was also able to start to articulate and find that inner emotional landscape, the inner terrain, right? I was always more interested in this kind of work personally for myself, but I didn't have the words for it as much as I do now. And I definitely was feeling a little lost at the time, not in a lot of ways, right? So these are testaments and testimonies to that time. And that's what I love about art making, right? It really can just remind us of that moment. Maybe sometimes we don't want to be reminded, but what's cool is that we're allowed to express it onto the page. We're allowed to give it voice and space and room to breathe. And now I'm talking about it. Maybe back then I was afraid because I didn't know what was going on, and I didn't really know how to trust myself. Also, I was still learning like all the technical stuff. So these maybe aren't the strongest pieces that I've ever made, but there is something important to them. You know, I shouldn't discredit the moment because I was in this phase of learning and emoting and expressing, and I still do that today in my practice. It's just gotten a lot more sophisticated. I'm gonna use that word. I used to hate to hear that word in class, but now I understand, after years and years of toiling away and working, I see how even a simple moment like this can become way more sophisticated because I have the understanding of the structural and the composition and space, and so there is more of a dynamic quality to the line, and you could argue there's always been a gestural quality to the line and a freedom to the experience, but it's never quite been, these were like new, like immature pieces in a way. It's interesting to look back though and think about all these moments, you know. I think like this shows me that the artist definitely was born, right? Like there was something living inside of me for decades, and I was a locked up artist, so it makes sense that I would come into this awakening phase, find the art program, and also be releasing in my own emotive quality, because before the bulk of the program, I was making art. I was trying to find my way. I was making all kinds of bad art. I didn't know if I wanted to be like an illustrator with like cutesy childlike doodles, or a digital artist, or I was making a lot of bad watercolors at the time. So that was prior to these moments. So I've always had that emotive quality and that emotionality wanting to course through me. I think that's what confused me in the beginning, you know, because this kind of work doesn't get talked about that much. It's hard to pin down the emotional, the energetic, the intuitive, but I feel like over the years that's what I've been focused on, and that's what I'm getting better at talking about, and that's what I love the most out of my work. And that's what my new course that's slated to start in 2025 is going to be all about. It's about turning in and facing ourselves, and making expressive, drawing, and some, you know, art making with collage. So it's kind of a tandem course is what I'm going to be bringing out for January 2025. All of that's going to be released on Wednesday, October 9th. There'll be a longer video and a pre-sale offer that you'll be able to buy into. There are some expiration dates on certain time frames. I'm going to have it run from October 9th to December 9th. And it's that's my birthday, so the special price will end on my birthday, but the program's available to buy up until it runs. Anyway, I bring all of this knowledge from years, not just in the painting, but in the energetic and the shamanic and the soulful. And that's where I've learned, you know, over the years how to unlock more and more internal doors. Ooh, this one's really nice. I like that one. I could put that in the good folder. So I am finding relationship to some of these as I look back through them and kind of feel them, not just with my hand, but like emotionally and intuitively and energetically. It kind of becomes a sensory experience for me again. So it's cool, right? Look at all this stuff. I can't believe it. I can believe it though, because I had so much that I was dying to get out at the time. And now that's changing again, where I'm dying to get out the words and tell the stories and teach and share what I know, you know, to help you move forward. Because I know how hard it can be. And I know that when we're not like making our most authentic art, which a lot of people will talk about this, but the thing is like, we really have to be mindful in that discovery. Like, are we really just making it for like what we want to make versus what somebody said to do? That can be a problem in all of the sectors. Oh, interesting. Text was starting to come in here too, secretly, right? So I would call these my secret paintings. I don't know what I was doing. So this is like okay. Like when we're just starting out and learning, you can make a lot of something, right? And I could still see me. Look, this was years ago, and I see those marks coming through now. And I see that wild expression and freedom that I was trying to get out. And I haven't even got to the good ones yet. But, you know, so it's all a practice and a process, right? Of discovery, uncovering more of ourselves, daring to, like, make the marks and have that moment. Because it isn't always pretty. And maybe, like, in that case, I want it to not be pretty now. In the past, I didn't understand. It's so interesting to look over these marks and kind of see what was the problem. But the ideas are there, right? So this is like, you know, a foundation of where I was going from years ago. So let's see what the good ones say. The good ones, I must have somehow curated this at one point, and I don't know why. There's a lot of internal emoting going on here. These emotional landscapes. These raw lines and energy. Just having the experience. So I am interested in teaching that, you know, just giving people holding the space to let you feel safe, to open more to that intimate emotionality and expression, because sometimes it's scary, you know, we don't always have all the answers, we're feeling afraid, so we don't even know what it means to risk. Because just maybe showing up to the page is a risk, right? But risk really has a breadth and depth to it. It's vast and varied. You can always push yourself farther from where you are in art and living, and that's important. Ooh, I like this one. Yeah, these two, like, I remember go together. You see that? So I think what I noticed is these have more space and a little more structure, but still are loosely rendered, and that's probably why I'm determining those are the good ones versus the other ones. But I'm not really sure how I determined that. It's another interesting thing to do. You can always look back through your work and, like, curate yourself. Because then you'll see, you'll start to get your own eye going, like, oh yeah, those aren't the best over there, but these are better, and then these are the best. So you can actually become your own inspiration and learn from yourself, and that's important. But when we learn to become intimate and face ourselves with all the fears, all the doubts, all the worries, make the marks, keep having the moments, show up to the work, then determine how we're gonna go forward, that's really powerful. And that's what having a consistent practice will do for you, and working on the emotional, mental, energetic, and spiritual bodies in the art making process. So it's like a holistic understanding, you know? Ooh, these go together pretty nice. And that's how I'm seeing it, and that's what I'm called to teach more and more and talk about. I mean, I've been doing it all along here, but it's about to take a bigger form, you know. So it's so interesting to see what I was doing. And it does feel kind of important that I kept these, you know, like a little moment in time, a little history. But what's exciting is, I think, just by looking through these, this is another thing I like to talk about and teach even in the visual mining classes, when we look at our inspiration, there'll be like a natural transference of what we love. It will just flow into us the more we gravitate towards it. So looking through these, you know, paintings, these moments, you know, I'm feeling inspired in a different kind of way. And I'm getting reinvigorated, right? I'm remembering the moment of years gone by and all that hard work that it takes to get to a place, not just in the painting, in the drawing, but in that internal feeling state and that emotional state and that presencing state where you can show up and not be as afraid, you know, to be all of you in the process. And that's important. It's important to the art journey. It's important to the creative journey. And it's definitely important to the living journey. All my emotions. The inevitable end. I had a little collage and text in there too. Oh, these ones go together, you see that? And that's the thing about like just working within the series of something. Naturally that will happen on its own. I just can't believe there's so many here. But then I can, because I know how crazy I am. I've always been, once I was awakened, I was just compelled to like move it forward, and I love using my art process to express my emotions and relate to my emotions and connect my voice and words, and it really helps me anchor myself into the world and learn to see, you know, not just in artworks, but in like side of myself deeper. And that's like the importance of my art practice and process. And that's what I'm going to be teaching in the longer program that I'm calling Face. And there'll be more information about that coming out on Wednesday. But for right now, I'm going to use all these things that I flipped through, and I am going to make some new work. Not this much though, just a few. Okay, so I pulled out ones that were interesting to me, even though after we went through that. And I'm kind of just gonna draw inspiration from these and riff off of the past. I'll be using this Canson XL watercolor paper. It's 140 pounds. I like this paper a lot. It's economical. I make a lot of things, so it works good for me. So here we go. Let's use the inspiration from the past to bring it forward into the now. I'm a lot more clear on who I am and not as afraid. Some days I still can be afraid, I'm not gonna lie. You know, I still have doubts and fears and worries just like the next person. But I do have this inner resolve and strength, and have been working years to come out of hiding, not just in the artwork, but in my life, right? And even making this YouTube video for a long time, I couldn't see myself due to past traumas and fear and, you know, all that stuff. So I've been working really hard to, you know, turn that corner, not just within the artworks, but, you know, in my self. And that's what I learned, to face it all. And that's what the new program in 2025 is going to be about, which is exciting. But, you know, here I'm just drawing on the past inspiration and, you know, connecting back into that expressive nature, that raw power and energy that I love so much, that intuition that's natural to my being. I've always kind of dwelled out there on the fringes of life and society and entering all worlds, right? So that's why the energetic and shamanic are important to me, because I do see things differently, and that does anchor my artworks a little bit differently for me personally. And that's what I like to talk about and teach about, and how to let go into that more raw expressive emotion quality and the freedom. And so drawing on the past experience, I could see that there is so much that I love when you like really let go into the mark in the moment. And here I'm just, you know, using what I have now is more knowledge, right? Because I've been on the journey for years, making art every day, which will change you. It will change you. You'll naturally change and grow on your own if you commit to the process and practice of yourself, you know. And that will strengthen your inner resolve, and that's what I like to teach also here on the channel. So entering into this past experience, I feel like I was picking up on some of those pieces, that magenta, this pink, that blue, the swirly marks, the circular marks are calling me. I really have found more freedom in the expression and the spontaneity, and just facing the fear to take more of a risk in the mark. And that is a process, because, you know, sometimes we want to judge ourselves too soon, or we don't feel like it's, quote, right. So the judgment comes in. But really, to me, creativity and art making and this non-representational drawing practice is a way to open up to more of the potential of the infinite, which I know sounds abstract, but it's about facing our fears and finding our voice in all those expressions, not just in the marks, but in the language, verbal and nonverbal words, you know. And how we can articulate it and show up. And if we've been hiding a big aspect of ourselves, it's how do we bring it forward and integrate it not only into the artworks and the creative process, but into our lives. So it's really a holistic system here, right? It's important to say that. But here I'm just like really letting go. I know that I like a primal energy and a raw quality, you know, but I couldn't always own that 100%. Nowadays I don't have much problem doing that. Depending on the day, it's not always easy, though. That's something I always say. I don't want to give you the illusion that if you just do this thing, you'll automatically have the answer, because that's not how art making works. It's definitely not how living works. It's definitely not how relationships work. You know, these things take time. They take communication with ourselves. It takes willingness to look, dare, and risk, have the hard conversation with ourselves, with another, with the artworks. You know, it's a challenge, and growth requires that. So we want to anchor into that emotionality of the understanding to get more of an awareness, right? And that's what I've been doing here over the years, is to keep facing the fear and show up anyway in all of the emotions, and learn to like integrate all of that, and it becomes an embodied process. So it's really important: mind, body, soul, spirit, energy, emotion, the mental, the physical, the emotional, the spiritual, you know, it's all here. And that's what we're working with, you know, it's a full system. And we're working to find more freedom in all of that. And that is a lifelong practice. So we want to prepare ourselves. How do we show up when it's hard, or when the circumstances aren't going right? Because, or what if we're making those authentic marks and just nobody gets it? Or not too many people do, right? Like, and what if my authentic expression is going against a lot of what I see? These are some questions that we're going to come up with, like up against, I mean. And especially if you are like daring past certain things, and it's just the nature of the art practice. And being an artist, what does that mean to you? Because that looks different for all of us. But here on my channel, and how I see it, is just, it's about that daring, you know, daring to say it no matter what, and kind of take more risk, and really find that freedom. So, of course, that might not be what your highest interest is, but there's always like a way to push past ourselves and let go more and more and more, not just in the artwork and the creative practice, but in living into all the expressions, you know, in the words, and how to articulate it, and how to like really stand and be present with it, right? Because that's a whole thing in itself. So here we learn how to face the fears in the process of art making and creativity, and just that full rawness willingness of expressing who we are, you know, as people and as artists and as creatives. And that's exciting.